I'm Scott Hansen. I'm a professor at Southern Utah University, and this module of SolidWorks will include an instruction on how to create two parts that will be used in an assembly in a future module. So we'll move the cursor to the little white piece of paper, left click once. The new SolidWorks document dialog box will appear. We'll left click on Part and left click on OK. I'm going to wait for SolidWorks to spin its wheels for a minute here. Then I'm going to move my cursor to the upper left portion of the screen. I'm going to left click on the Sketch tab, left click on the Sketch icon, move my cursor to the front plane. When it becomes highlighted, we'll left click once, and then we'll right click. A pop-up menu will appear. We'll left click on Display Grid. And the first thing we'll draw is just a simple circle. We'll extrude that, and that will become a wrist pin. So we'll left click on the circle command, move our cursor to the origin, left click one time, drag that out, left click, right click, select. We'll left click on Smart Dimension, we'll left click on the circle, drag that out and enter 0.5. We'll hit the green check mark. Then we'll use the mouse wheel to scroll it up a little. We'll right click, exit sketch, left click on the Features tab, then we'll left click on Extruded Boss Base. We'll scroll it out a little bit and enter 1.875 for the extrusion distance. And we'll left click on the green check mark. And then we'll left click, and we should have a wrist pin that looks similar to what is shown. We'll save this. This will be one of 5 parts that are going to be used in a future assembly. And this will be part 1. We'll call this wrist pin 1. Save. And then I'm going to close this. We'll start a new part. Right click after we find a left click on the Sketch tab and define a sketch. We'll right click, Display Grid, and then we'll create a piston case that will be used in an assembly. And it will need to look something kind of like this. Left click on Select. We'll hit Smart Dimension, and we'll dimension this to 2.75. We'll dimension this to 3. Dimension the overall to 8. We'll scroll out, and we'll dimension this to 0.75. Then I'll hit the green check mark. We'll right click, left click on Exit Sketch. We'll left click on the Features tab, left click on Extruded Boss Base, and we will enter 2.25 for the extrusion distance. Then we'll clean this up a little bit by adding some fillets down here on this lower edge. We'll left click on the Fillet command. Make sure our dot is in full preview. We'll move our cursor to this edge, left click once, move to the other edge, left click once. We'll enter 1.125 for our fillet radius and hit enter. We'll get a little mesh that shows a preview of what our fillet's going to look like. Then we'll left click on the green check mark. Then we'll push the mouse wheel down, rotate the model up. We have two more things that we need to do. So I'm going to move the cursor over this underside face. We're going to create a sketch on here. We'll right click, sketch. We'll move up to the circle command. We'll left click on circle. Move the cursor down into this area. If we can get the midpoint of each one of these lines, and it's not always easy to do. There we go. Now we've constrained those on the center midpoint of each one of those lines for convenience. We'll left click on Smart Dimension, left click on the edge of the circle, drag the dimension out, and we'll enter a 2, and then each one of these 1.125, that works. And hold on, we'll have to hit escape. We'll hit the Smart Dimension again, and we'll drag that out to 1.125. Then we'll right click, left click on select, right click again, exit sketch, left click on extruded cut, and it plugs in our last extrusion distance of 2.25. We need 2.75, and we'll hit enter. Left click on the green check mark, left click out in the workspace. Looks like it cut all the way through. Then I'm going to push the mouse wheel down, and we will put a sketch on this surface. So once this inside surface becomes highlighted, we'll right click, left click on sketch. We'll move our cursor up to the circle icon, left click on the circle icon, and we're going to use the center of the fillet radius for the center of our circle. So I move my cursor over the edge, and once the center of it pops up, I just kind of sneak my cursor down there, left click one time, drag it out, left click, right click, select, left click on Smart Dimension, left click on the circle, and we'll enter 0.5. Then we'll hit the green check mark, right click, left click on exit sketch, left click on extrude cut. This only needs to be 0.75 because that's the distance of that thickness of that extrusion. Left click on the green check mark, left click out in the workspace, push the mouse wheel down, and we now have our completed piston case, which we'll be using in a future assembly. So go ahead and save this, and that concludes this module on the creation of the wrist pin and the piston case.